how great Azul is as a player, needs no introduction. I'm sure everyone at home is aware of his achievements, but William, no slouch as well.
No.
Looking through his record just now, many first place finishes at regional level events.
Also a regional champion this season with Charizard EX as well, so both players well versed in the Charizard EX game plan here. You know, William is piloting Charizard EX with that Pidgeot EX combination. Azul switching to the other side, and knowing that he's going to be facing up against a lot of Charizard, does probably take a slightly favorable matchup there.
Lost Zone Giratina was heavily criticized by Azul, and here he is piloting it. And one of the greatest aspects of this deck in the current format is how popular Charizard EX is going to be, because not only does that Giratina knock out with its V-Star, Star Requiem, you've also got its main attack with Maximum Belt and that Iron Leaves, which we can see right at the top of the prize cards. Not the best place to have it.
No, not at all, as we do see both players with their prizes. That Forest Sealstone there for William's side of the board. One Pidgey. Again, nothing too much to complain about, but Azul will be sort of, once he gets a chance to go through that deck, be eyeing up and looking for that Iron Leaves as soon as possible.
It's great for one of those early attacks, trying to set the tempo, and you want to try and keep those Giratina V-Stars once you build up the Lost Zone for the Star Requiem, and then maybe you can even recycle that Iron Leaves once you've got an early attack off with it.
Yeah, typically this matchup, you know, Giratina V-Star has a lot of time to start using the first attack to be able to look at the top four and put 2 cards into the Lost Zone, but now with Charizard EX playing that Maximum Belt, can stretch over that HP and deal damage, as we both see players fist bump, and we're kicking things off here for our Swiss round 6. Looks like Azul will be starting first as well with that Manaphy in the active spot.
Not an ideal start. On the other side, we see the beautiful shining cards from Paldean Fates. You know, this is where, you know, these players are really going to try and represent why their deck list is optimal, why it is the best version of that archetype. And one thing I've noticed with quite a few Charizard builds is some interesting cards coming in for consistency. And one card is that Cleffa, underutilized historically, but it's starting to see more play now, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see it in this matchup.
It's just one of those other cards to utilize as a support Pokemon. Maybe not trying to put down a Rotom V down to draw cards into your hand. Maybe if you can get a Cleffa down, you know, you're only giving up 1 prize. You start activating your cards like Counter Catcher as well, and then you don't have that liability of a 2-prizer on the bench.
The only problem with that Cleffa is the vulnerability it presents. Without a Jirachi in the deck, with Sableye about in those Lost Box decks, it can really be part of a quick 2-prize turn with just a single Sableye in the active. So something to think about there. It's very much like a backup plan, similar to how we saw Celebrations Mew in the last format with Charizard. So Azul just doing a deck check here, looking to get that Comfey onto the bench for some flower selecting. Did actually have a Giratina. That might have been the top deck if starting Manaphy there.
Yeah, very likely, or just wanting to make sure, maybe wasn't too sure what he's up against, doesn't want to necessarily bench it down until sometimes you need 2 in play before it just kind of gets gusted up, for example. But knowing now he's got an extra turn at the very least, there's an opportunity to utilize it. And there's the Jet Energy that we have seen before as well to promote the Comfey into the active spot. Mirage Gate being selected as the first Lost Zone here in Swiss round 6. A nice easy retreat into the second Comfey from that to Flower Select. And now we're just dancing away.
Ooh, so early Comfey's found off those flower selectings, and it's going to be the Giratina benched, ready to attack in the future. And this is one of the beauties of Giratina V-Star into the Charizard matchup, is those Giratina Vs and V-Stars are safe early on from being knocked out. So you can safely put them onto the bench, and in a lot of matchups, you wouldn't be able to. You just see there Azul prize checking, writing it down on his notepad. And on the other side, William will be going through their deck to prize check with that Nest Ball.
Yeah, 100%. Just kind of, again, Azul knows he's got an additional turn. He's already got 2 in the Lost Zone. William be just looking to try to build out that board, to get set up with those Pidgeys and Charmanders ready to go as soon as possible. Of course, doesn't want to give up any sort of easy prizes. Knowing he's facing up against a Giratina deck, he's going to know that he knows he has to play around things like Iron Leaves, despite him not knowing that is prize right now.
And Greninja as well, another aspect of what makes Giratina so threatening to Charizard. You do have to start thinking about putting the Manaphy down. You do have to start thinking about protecting yourself from those 2-prize turns, whether it be Iron Leaves, Greninja, a Giratina V-Star attack, and that's where the route to victory tends to be through 2 prizes the whole way through.
Yeah, and it was very early selected into the front of the deck with those nest balls there as well, as we do see just William just kind of now shuffling up just those other options there. It looks like that Rotom V has hit the field as well. Opportunity to retreat into the Manaphy just for the time being, just to give himself some breathing space, as we do see the instant charge there. Draw 3 and end your turn. Back over to Azul.
Yeah, no cancelling clone to worry about here. When you put a Manaphy in play and Greninja is opposing you, you have to always wonder, is cancelling clone combinations going to be there like it is in Shen Pao or Golden Go? But rarely do you see that in Giratina. It's normally in just the Lost Box variants that we saw popularized with Roaring Moon, Iron Hands, and Hooper recently.
Yeah, we've mentioned how Giratina could potentially stretch and reach that 330 damage, as we do see now the second flower selecting that Sableye hitting the Lost Zone. Just the 1 copy in Azul's list. But as we continue, so the ace spec of choice for Azul this time is actually a Prime Catcher. Just the maneuverability is more important for him rather than the damage output.
Yeah, so many people putting maximum belt into the Giratina V-Star, trying to use that lost impact to reach the Charizard knockout, but Prime Catcher stronger across the rest of the matches, and so that Lost Zone really building up now as we see Azul at 4. Will be able to now use the Cramorant to knock out the lone Charmander in play, and that is a huge turn for Azul for tempo.
Yeah, that Cramorant being able to attack for no energy cards because of 4 in the Lost Zone now, following 4 flower selects from Azul, and just that boss's orders, doesn't even need to utilize the Chorus's experiment and just spit innocently onto that Charmander.
Well, we saw off of the instant charge last turn, the Buddy Poffin was there, so William will be able to stabilize the board after that very frustrating early knockout. Charmander, you've only got 1 Charmander down, you're always susceptible to a turn delay with that knockout, and that's what we saw there. Now going to try and double up on the Charmanders to guarantee a Charizard. But yeah, let's go back to that ace specs. I think that's probably the most interesting part of this matchup. Do you think William's going to be playing around what he thinks is going to be a maximum belt?
I mean, there's only so much you can do. You have a big 330 HP Charizard EX. You can't really boost the HP on it or do too much. You're just going to have to start swinging away. But you're just going to have to build up the board to a position where you have maybe multiple, so you can keep ramping up your damage. If one gets taken out from Star Requiem, for example, then it's nothing too much to worry about, as it looks like a 3rd Charmander coming down now, following that poor singular shiny Charmander taken down from that boss's orders. As we do see another instant charge.
Good cards in there. Yarvan will be able to get things set up next turn.
Opportunity for Azul to continue progressing down the prize race. Does only have 1 Giratina V on the board right now, as we do see the first Chorus experiment in round 6 here. 5
Such
cards.
a good card.
So good to just kind of see all the pieces and just remove the ones that you don't necessarily need.
Yeah, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Lost Engine, you can see just below Azul's face cam there, trying to get that Lost Zone count, the number of cards in the Lost Zone, as high as possible for various different thresholds. You've got the Cramorant, which we just saw with the Spit Innocently, which at the 4th threshold can attack for free. You've then got 7, which is another key moment, and that's when your Mirage Gates can be utilized. And then sometimes you'll see in different versions of Lost Zone decks, 10 being a key point, whether it be for Sableye or for that Star Requiem for Giratina V-Star. And so getting that Lost Zone count as high as possible early on, as Azul has done here, really sets you up for the rest of the game and thins out a lot of those cards you don't want to be seeing again. Yeah,
big flower selecting there. Unfortunately has to pitch away into the Lost Zone, that Chorus experiment, but it was the Giratina V-Star that was picked up. We do see the first Mirage Gate as well, a Psychic Energy and a Grass Energy attached to that Giratina V-Star there, just waiting in the wings to start plowing through where possible. As Azul's just shuffling up following that. Will he just go back into the Cramorant, maybe take another prize? I mean, does keep it out of range still of the Charizard EX, and that's the key aspect here.
Yeah, Giratina V-Star will be safe from Charizard EX for another few knockouts As we see another prize taken, that Iron Leaves right up at the top, out of range of Azul taking it. And so now has to start thinking about a different game plan. Was probably hoping to find the Iron Leaves early on there off the prize cards. Now, different strategy needed, but getting far enough ahead that maybe a Cramorant into a Giratina or something similar will be possible.
Yeah, Williams just having to try and navigate these turns now. Currently, a Charizard EX, should William get one out, will be dealing 240 damage. So 180 from that Burning Darkness, plus 30 more for every prize that Azul's taken. So that's 60 more damage output, 240, and it's only the Choice Belt which is able to sort of help ramp up more damage, but 270 is not quite enough yet.
Not at all, and that Prime Catcher really helps you target the Pidgeot EX as well, because that's only got 280 HP, so that allows the Giratina to knock it out early on, and then that allows you to keep that Star Requiem for when you want to knock out the Charizard EX. You can even go via the Rotom V and a Pidgeot, for example, and never actually need to quite hit that Charizard EX in this matchup if you start like you have here, where you can get a few 1 prizes.
Yeah, there's likely going to be 3 2 prizes on Williams' board now. That Pidgeot EX just being evolved up via the rare candy, of course, skipping that stage 1 Pidgeotto straight up to that stage 2. Now being able to utilize that free retreat pivot and the quick search ability of that fantastic Pidgeot EX card.
Well, Charizard EX, the most popular deck in the room, but with a massive target on it. Every single deck here wants to try and beat it. And there's a way to knock out a Giratina V-Star. Radiant Charizard with Choice Belt. It will require a big investment of energy, but it will be a way to get that knockout now, which could completely change this game.
Does William have the cards and the combo pieces to be able to do so? There's the quick search after the Ultra Ball for that Charizard EX. Rare Candy being selected. Infernal Rain's going to be coming down shortly to start powering up one of his Pokemon. This is the decision to make here. Is there enough combo pieces? Choice Belt looks like it's in hand. Is there a counter catcher?
That's the real question, because that's the final piece of the puzzle. Only playing 6 Fire Energy as well. William has to be really careful. Not going to be actually able to go for that Charizard just yet. Might be saving that one for a counter knockout later on. But that would have been too many pieces just there for William. But interesting to note that if you able to get 1 more card in that combo, the Radiant Charizard would have been able to take a knockout in the Giratina V-Star.
Yeah, we do see a Charmeleon evolution up as well, stage 1, as the Charizard EX goes to the active spot. Radiant Charizard waiting in the wings now as the first prize is taken from Williams' side of the board, and it's on Azul to just be able to try and deal with this Charizard EX in the active position.
Yeah, another Giratina V down would be useful here. Maybe taking out the Pidgeot EX would be useful here. There's a lot of things for Azul to do, but with it not in hand, it's going to be tricky to know exactly what the correct strategy is, as a little bit of digging will be required for Azul.
Yeah, Azul would need to find that Prime Catcher, because he only plays 1 boss. 1 boss, 1 Prime Catcher, 1 Counter Catcher are the counts in Azul's list. So therefore, it's a little bit of a stretch. Does have Chorus's Experiment, can dig quite far into the deck. We'll see at least 7 cards here.
This is the Counter Catcher, but it's not going to be much use right now.
Easy choice here. The Water Energy goes as well, because not going to be trying to utilize maybe the Greninja. Just double checking maybe with no Manaphy down. Is that an easy way to try and take 2 prizes or steal 2 prizes? Just second guessing himself. 1
already in the lost zone. Oh, he's actually going to keep that Water Energy just in case.
Just as an option. I like it.
I mean, that would be a huge turn, right? Not even having to worry about utilizing that Giratina V-Star.
I think still need some pieces, though. Looks like a Nest Ball option there.
Nest Ball or Giratina V. You need both of them, because you want the Nest Ball for the Greninja, but you also kind of want the Giratina V.
Yeah.
And committing to that route here.
Maybe the slightly safer play here, where Giratina V was the selection, of course. That Nest Ball going straight in. Now we're into 11 in the lost zone, so it does mean we've hit the threshold for Star Requiem to be able to be utilized here.
And just setting up 2 Giratinas would be huge, but unable to evolve the bench Giratina V now will mean that it wouldn't be guaranteed next turn, and that would lead William to down some disruption. And that's always a huge factor when you're playing these matchups. Disruption can completely change the end game, especially for a lost zone deck. Very susceptible to those end game disruptions.
Yeah, an Iono coming down will put Azul, if Azul is able to take the 2 prizes here from an attack, it would mean an Iono will put him down to 2 cards. But he's got to think, well, I'm still in a good position. William still needs 3 attack announcements before William could win the game, as we do see the attachment retreat, super rod of some of those energies, and the Cramorant as well, and a very efficient attacker, of course. Mirage Gate being utilized alongside that combo piece of the super rod to power up a second Giratina. So Azul just playing to his outs. Prime Catcher still in the deck as well. We've mentioned it before, Finning is winning.
I mean, it does leave quite a lot for Azul to get if that disruption comes through from William. You know, Iono, a great option for disruption, but Roxanne now starting to appear in Charizard list. So if Azul has great cards coming up in the next few turns, William can completely change that order of the deck by using the Roxanne for disruption, where Iono, you draw off the top, and it's a great way to disrupt decks which are comfortable with what's in the deck and coming off the Iono.
Yeah, Azul just considering benching a third Comfey here, knowing that there'll be a very likelihood chance of just simply seeing some disruption. Hasn't hit the Iron Leaves EX there, which is really unfortunate from Azul as well, because I'm sure he was banking on that 50-50 to try and hit it out the prizes.
Another V-Star in there as well. That is tough. Those 2 prize cards, both of them the exact cards needed for next turn.
Is that a Roxanne that I just saw picked up as well from William's side of the board? Let's play 1 copy of it.
That is exactly what you need in these final moments. We're talking about it just now. The disruption of Roxanne is unique compared to Iono, because not only are they shuffling in and drawing the cards so they don't have the control over what they see, but you're also gaining 6 cards as a Charizard player, so you potentially find more of those combo pieces for future turns and can set yourself up in a much nicer position.
And we've mentioned it before, that Radiant Charizard is ready to go with that Choice Belt attached as well. We'll be dealing 280 damage with that fantastic Excited Heart ability. Combustion Blast dealing 250 damage plus 30 from the Choice Belt. And because of that Excited Heart reducing the energy cost required to take the knockout, there's a great opportunity here for William to just try and swing it back into his favor.
Yeah, no switch in the deck, so no way to reset that card easily, but does have the Professor Turo's scenario.
And when you have something like a Pidgeot EX, you can always grab it when you need it.
Exactly, and reset it once again.
So big turn here. I wonder what Azul has been able to pull out from their Roxanne to 2.
I mean, they put a Temple of Sinnoh in play, so their Jet Energies won't be live anymore. I don't know if they have any more in deck, but the Jet Energy, not possible to use. Temple of Sinnoh being put down to thin it out of the deck in preparation for the Roxanne, but I wonder if that could reduce options. We'll see in just a moment. Azul keeping his hand close to the table, not letting us see it. On the other side, William really trying to set up the most optimal end game board state, and this is why Charizard is so good right now.
Yeah, that's a second Charizard coming down with that Infernal Rain, energy attachments to it. William just kind of playing out the game plan in his mind now. Remember, he does need 3 attacks to go off to win this game because of the 5 prizes that are remaining here. But Charizard EX will start to swing away because 4 prizes taken. Has decided to go down the route of taking out the Giratina V on the bench.
Interesting. Just worried about having the Charizard stuck in the active,
yeah,
maybe?
Sure.
Still out of range. Maybe knowing that the maximum belt isn't in the list. Maybe he got that knowledge that it's Prime Catcher, not maximum belt. Because that's something we mentioned before, right? Is that the maximum belt typically found in the Lost Zone Giratina. On this occasion, for Azul, it's not. But then still, the Iron Leaves could at any moment just come straight down. So William banking heavily that the Iron Leaves is not accessible.
Yeah, and it could be a great read. But I think that's why he was maybe a little bit stressing out on the scenario here. Roxanne's Switch picked up. Switch could be useful to just kind of keep going through the deck and seeing more cards, but Roxanne just gives you a chance to maybe see you further. Prime Catcher in hand as well, so it can take an easy knockout, potentially.
Oh, huge opportunity here. Prime Catcher onto that Rotom is an easy 2-prizer available, and it would also need to be retreated as well. Either of the Pidgeot EX and the Rotom are available.
This is it, big Roxanne.
Just needs to get an energy off of this Roxanne. This could be huge.
Just super rodded as well. So just shuffling up. This is a big 6-carder here for Azul.
I mean, Roxanne is always the dream card to find off of someone else Roxanning you, as it completely resets the game back the other way. So Azul here needs 1 energy off of these 6 cards to take game 1. Can he find it? Will he get it? There it is.
Grass energy attachment there and a lost impact for the final 2 prizes of game 1 there. Azul going 1 game up in round 6.
Just such an early start for him, taking out the first Charmander and the only Charmander in play with a Cramorant, gave him the time to set up and allowed him to not need the Iron Leaves, which was right at the top of those prize cards and inaccessible for the whole game. Azul going up 1-0 here in round 6.
Yeah, that Iono, no, sorry, not Iono, that Roxanne was really kind to Azul in the end.
It was.
Alongside, of course, the draw, so 3 card scene plus a further 2 from the flower selecting. But yeah, super kind as we do get a glimpse of the replay here, recap. We know Iron Leaves was prized, so Azul had to work around that throughout as we saw the early KO, as Mike, you just mentioned, on that Charmander.
Yeah, Iron Leaves specifically in there for this matchup, as it's such a great way to knock out a Charizard EX. But of course, doesn't need to be there. It doesn't need to be used if there are other routes around it, especially with a slow start for William. Hopefully here in game 2, William can get a little bit more stable at the start. Multiple Charmanders down. But it was also quite fortunate for Azul to find that early boss, get the Cramorant out, and really get things going. Just showing why Giratina V-Star is a good deck. And I think he's come around to it finally and realized that it does have the consistency and ability to get those wins. And here we see the prizes for game 2.
Oh, massive prize there from William's side of the board. That's, oh no, sorry, EX Pokemon, so excuse me.
I think the Cleffa, the MVP.
The Cleffa, that we haven't seen yet. But this side, it has opted to go second again. Azul leading that Spiritomb.
Fettered in misfortune.
Yes, it has, and will be, as it's going to be stopping that Rotom V coming down and drawing cards. But this is where maybe Cleffa would have been really good, but we see it in the prizes.
Yeah, I mean, Spiritomb is great against Snorlax. Not that Giratina has a bad matchup into Snorlax, but one of the huge options it cuts away is that Luminion V, and it really takes down these draw engines, this basic V draw engines like Rotom V, like Luminion, to find your supporters. And so the Spiritomb Fettered in Misfortunes found its way into Azul's Lost Zone Giratina list, as it's probably one of the better matchups to start it in.
Oh, yeah, it's a great card in this scenario. I mean, at any opportunity, you can also try and maybe just fade away as well, fade out, just back into the hand if you really want to get out the active spot. But at the same time, you're just impacting and slowing the game down. We've already known Giratina has had a bit of a slower game plan when you go sort of, you trying to utilize Giratina V's first attack, of course.
Yeah.
And this meta and format and rotation has maybe kind of played into that a little bit.
Exactly. I mean, many people will have put those Spiritombs away thinking that the only utility was going to be for the Genesect V disruption in the Mew VMAX deck pre-rotation, but it is still a viable disruption card as we're seeing it now. As mentioned, Rotom V and Luminion V will not be happy seeing that on the board.
Concealed cards there, just missing Buddy Poffins, I believe, but of course can utilize that card later on. So it's one of sort of the advantages of Lost Zone decks, utilizing Buddy Poffin rather than the pre-rotation Battle VIP passes.
Yeah, you'd really force the dig turn 1, wouldn't you? And it forced a lot of decks to go second last format, purely because of the Battle VIP pass being such a key card. And that is a question here. William opting to go second, and Giratina happy to go into the game second or first. And so really, you start to wonder, does Charizard want to start going first more now?
Ooh, that's a choice of a Giratina V going into the Lost Zone. Energy attachment to the active, giving himself a pivot option. Interesting decision there by Azul. The other card had to be very good to be able to do that.
Yeah, you're going to be looking at that. Williams going, what have you got in your hand now? Yeah. Giratina V should not be the one going into the Lost Zone.
Hang on a moment. It's just an energy attachment and the boss's orders on that.
Oh, no.
Spiritomb. It must have been that Chorus's experiment. It has to be. Is it typically the only option? Did he just top deck a second one?
Yeah, no, not like this. This is not how you want your your tournament to go. You're getting that.
It's just a nest ball he really needs because he can, I think, switch into the comfy and get the fourth into the lost zone now, and then that would activate lost provisions into spit innocently.
Just working out whether the Buddy Buddy Poffin's correct here. Choosing not to go for it.
Yeah, I maybe would have liked to have seen him maybe hold on to that and utilize, get more comfies down because a switch card and switch in hand.
Oh, if they get nest ball here, that is game, but Azul's still in a commanding position, even if the knockout does not happen here. Does have some draw off of that concealed cards too. Counter catcher, Jet Energy. And now we're going to see a draw off that concealed cards.
2 big cards.
And that's going to be draw 1, draw 2. Not quite. Oh, Cramorant not finding its way out into play, but then, you know, still a very strong position for Azul here.
Yeah, here we go. The power of that Abyss Seeking is going to come to fruition now. Utilizing that first attack, put 4 cards into your hat. Well, 4 cards, look at 4 cards, sorry, and 2 into the lost zone. Didn't really see another way still to get that, but the Giratina V-Star also hitting the lost zone now on William. Does he draw anything? There's a Buddy Buddy Poffin. He's in the game.
Welcome back to the game, William.
It's a start at least. This
Time to find them.
First deck search. Maybe he might be looking for that Cleffer here. And then
no. I mean, but this is it, right? We said about how the start from Azul last game was very fast and the start from William was slow. But if you exaggerate that to an extreme level, that is exactly what we are seeing right here.
Unfortunate poker face just kind of not being shown by William. I think he just kind of just showcased his grimace as he searched through the deck and is unable to pick out the Cleffer as an option.
And those of you who are fans of Azul will know that he's a big fan of Cleffer. So maybe at this stage, William was going to tell him, I'll get to show you the Cleffer. You've always wanted to see it played. But unfortunately, as you mentioned, in the prize cards, one of those cards that, you know, for the players who've been playing a while, you've seen cards like Cleffer, in fact, other versions of Cleffer be so effective at setting up in early stages. How does this Cleffer compare to Cleffers of old?
I mean, they used to have sort of baby abilities, quote-unquote, bodies types effects where if you try and attack it, they'd have to flip a coin, and if it's tails, then the attack just doesn't happen and things like that. But also having that ability to just kind of shuffle and draw up to 7 seems to be quite typical of something like a Cleffer or just baby Pokemon. We do get a call for family as well, which is at least something.
Another great attacker early on, you know, like if you've got a single prizer with Call for Family on it that evolves into something else that's really good, like Pidgeot EX, it's a definite inclusion, and that's why the Pidgeot EX engine is so good, because you have that addition of Pidgey. I mean, we've seen the same thing be true of the Chinchino and Lugia. Having that Call for Family on the Minchino makes such a difference to the viability of that evolution line.
I think there's still a lot for William to get. He's still looking for that top deck to get out of the position he's in. There's a couple of Pidgeot EXs in hand, Professor Churo's Scenario, maybe one other. As Azul's just kind of, well, I'm going to keep drawing through my deck, seeing as many cards as possible. Chorus's Experiment here, there, and everywhere. Another 2 will be hitting the lost zone. Does mean he'll be hitting that 8, beyond the 7, and to that 8 threshold, and will be able to start utilizing things like Mirage Gate. Thankfully, William has put down and kept the Manaphy on the board as well, so Greninja can't really come down and sort of snipe away at 2 Charmanders.
I mean, as far as turns go, where William was last turn versus where William is now, I think stabilization is a fair way to describe that. That board looking a lot better now, but as we mentioned, Azul so far through that lost zone count that he's in a very good position.
Here we go, Sableye being targeted down. We've seen a number of Giratina pieces hit the lost zone. Azul identifying well, William's start is incredibly slow. Those really small, low HP Pokemon are just kind of sitting there waiting for Azul to just actually pick away with Lost Mine as soon as he hits the 10 in the threshold. It's on 8 right now, I believe.
Yeah, so might need to use the Abyss Seeking here, knowing that one of those Pidgeys will probably stay in play.
Could go into the Comfey with a switch. Could retreat into a second Comfey and Mirage. I guess he wouldn't be able to retreat into it using the energy because you can't. Yeah, wouldn't be able to because they were going into the Comfey. So does need to find another switch out.
Chorus and Water. I mean, the Water energy, not too much of a concern now, especially with the Manaphy in play.
We're up to 9.
I mean, there we go.
There's a 10 coming down. We're flower selecting dancing right now. We're pivoting between them. This will hit 10. Water Engie again and a Cramorant.
And this is the challenge when you're slow against Lost Zone. You open up more options. Sableye, Star Requiem, they're all available now. And Azul just sitting here looking at a board where he can disrupt it heavily with a Sableye. Very rarely do you get to see a Sableye utilized by a Lost Zone deck against a Charizard deck before it's even evolved anything. And that could be the case right here.
Yeah, and this is the one true concern from William's side of the board, because we know there are 60 HP Pidgeys available, but it's gone with the 50 HP because of that Call for Family attack. Such a great attack. We've highlighted it already. Energy's attachment from the Mirage Gate to the Giratina V here. But 50 HP, Charmander has a maximum of 70 as well. Perfect math for that Lost Mine attack.
I mean, even that Charmander, which used Heat Tackle, that's now on 50 HP.
Oh,
so
yeah,
you could take out both Charmanders here with a Sableye, and we'll be getting that Manaphy into the active, attach, and can knock out both the Charmanders, evolve the Giratina, showing exactly how powerful the Lost Engine is, and it's this Sableye that unlocks so much potential when you get that count nice and high.
And that Prime Catcher, again, showcased by Azul, rather than something like that maximum belts there. Just kind of, again, maybe considering using that Mirage Gate to thin through the deck a little bit more. Maybe give a pivot option for one of his Comfeys.
Set up energy for Iron Leaves.
Yeah, potentially as well. As there goes, yeah, there's the Iron Leaves energy, and then the pivot option from the Psychic. And Azul is truly in a commanding position here. Just staring down at that the two Charmanders, I should say.
Well, the Lost Mine has been sprinkled, and it's taken out both the Charmander. In hindsight, that Heat Tackle might have been a mistake, but in that situation, William had almost accepted that he was on the back foot. And from here, with a Pidgeot EX in play, this is going to be one of the greatest comebacks if we see William come back in this game. No Charmander on board. Azul fully set up with a Sableye in the active, ready to take knockouts. The Pidgey and the Manaphy both can be knocked out next turn with that Lost Mine. So William now not only has to put Charmanders in play, but he has to put two of them in because of the Sableye. And until that happens, this could be tough.
Yeah, this is backs up against the wall here for William. What can he conjure up from this Charizard EX deck? Remember, both players are well-versed with the Charizard EX decks. Both regional champions with Charizard EX, which is a fantastic thing to see. Just showcases the power and just consistency of the deck itself. I mean, William bringing it here and is currently 5-0 up against Azul, also 5-0 with this record. Does find a Radiant Charizard, but doesn't look like we're going to be able to get very far here.
Oh, it's so tough. Once you get on the back foot, it's really hard to come back in this current format. You know, you got the hand disruption, but everything is on board for Azul here. And nothing is on board for William except for that Pidgeot EX. And so we're going to have to really find the dream scenario here. It's going to have to be a lot of disruption. I mean, when you got something like Charizard, you don't even have the ability to utilize things like Sableye. You can't play around the active. You just have to knock out the big thing in the active spot.
There's just no way to get an attack off here to remove the Sableye from play. As of right now, has to play the Nest Ball. I mean, if he is able to get another Charmander down, it's just an easy picking off target for a further 2 prizes. And then it's just a Pidgeot EX again, alongside that Radiant Charizard on a future turn.
Do not envy you right now, William.
Doesn't even find an option here.
I mean, we look at these kind of games.
Charmander in hand, sorry.
I mean, it's 1-0 to Azul. William is, you know, not going to be able to go to a game 3. He's on the back foot here. So this is one of those games where if you were watching this and you still had another life in your best of 3, you would potentially just scoop up and say, let's go next. But at this stage, William has to try and find a backdoor win condition that's not obvious at this stage. And it's just going to be so tricky with everything on board. And that's the crux of it, as we see. Is that a Lost Mine there?
Yeah, the question is whether he will remove the Manaphy or just start putting some damage on the Pidgeot EX as well, because yeah, this is the scenario here. By keeping it like this, William's not able to attach 2 energies in one go, so if there's just one Charmander that goes down, it's an easy target again. because that Manaphy's been pushed down to 5 HP or 50 HP left.
And we've got the Roxanne available now for William, but again, everything is on board for Azul, so you can disrupt the hand all you like, but at the end of the day,
what more does he need?
What more does he need? He's got a powered-up Giratina ready to attack. He's got energy on his Comphase to switch him out. Everything's there ready.
And especially as you've already mentioned, there's just no switch card in Williams' deck list right now. The only possible way to pivot out is a Professor Churro's scenario. Radiant Charizard hitting the field as well, and a Roxanne holding on to that Charmander. There's no point putting it down because it's just easy pickings. If it even goes to it, or comes to it as it were, William won't be getting another attack off. That's the worrying thing here.
Well, Charizard being our first repeated deck on stream, it's struggled in both occasions. First time was against Xian Pao. Xian Pao, very strong matchup into Charizard. Now we're seeing Losson Giratina. It does feel like Charizard, despite being the most popular deck at this event, has got some tougher matchups into the other popular decks in the format. But that's just credit to Charizard itself. It's so strong across the board that people are worried about it to the point where we're getting Iron Leaves in their deck list and people are choosing decks that have a strong matchup into it.
Yeah, for sure. But we know why people continue to pick Charizard as a deck. It's super consistent. Typically is able to then just kind of pick at the cards that it needs, as we do see the quick search here from William. Just kind of eyeing up any opportunity to try and swing the game back his way. As you've already mentioned, his back is fully up against the wall because he can't just concede and give himself no chance in this matchup. But he's in a scenario again where he just can't put one Charmander down. And that's the difficulty here, because that Sableye is just going to keep going. There's no stopping it.
No, I mean, the ability to get Ino and Roxanne towards the end game for Charizard, typically very disruptive, especially with decks that are racing to try and beat you. They might not be fully set up, and on this occasion, I keep mentioning it, Azul has everything on board ready to go pretty much. I mean, the Spiritomb coming into the active spot there, if Azul's out of energy, that could be a way to disrupt, but other than that, it looks to be just sort of a hopeful gusting there.
I wonder if he really needed to find a way to combo that gust, that counter catcher with a Charmander down, maybe just kind of force the issue, like saying, this is the only chance I have. But now, because of the way the board state is, there's no further Charmander that has been placed because he had to quick search for that counter catcher, it looked like. He's just still up against it again. No energies as well. He just had to attach it to the Radiant Charizard here. And Manaphy's just sitting pretty. There's an energy in hand from Azul already. Straight back into the Sableye. A third running of Lost Mine. 360 damage counters would have been placed now. And he's just going to slowly target and whittle down Williams' board. And that's perfect play because there's no maneuverability here. Yeah, okay. Well, definitely not KO, but I think it's just a kind of a showcase. That, yeah, it is just double-checking 11 going onto the Radiant Charizard, keeping 7 available for a Charmander to come down.
Lovely stuff. Where's that other one going? Going to be going onto the Pidgeot EX. I don't think it matters too much where it goes. Just making sure that whatever comes into play here, like you mentioned, another Charmander trying to come down will not be enough. And it's almost like locking William out of the game with the main attacker. It's been the case in both games, really targeting down those Charmanders early on to set up these end games.
Yeah, Azul's got to be feeling pretty good right now just because of the board state and, of course, playing around where those scenarios of what William could do. I mean, William hasn't been able to just get another Charmander down because it's just at the mercy of that Sableye. Like I said, 360 damage counters dropped by Lost Mine already in this game too. That's not something you really want to be facing up against. 360 is more than the Charizard EX's HP, after all.
Yeah, I mean, typically we don't see a Sableye last this long, but on this particular occasion, it's been able to last this long just because there's been no return attack from William. That Manaphy being gusted into the active with the Prime Catcher, what is widely considered the strongest ace spec in the game right now. And it's for that reason. You could not only get a big knockout, you can not only disrupt in the same turn as using it, but you can set yourself up with these attackers on the bench, put them into the active whilst gusting up the least useful card on your opponent's side, and that was the Manaphy on this occasion.
So Excited's Heart from the ability from the Radiant Charizard right now. It's one less from each prize taken. It's only 3, so it's just a retreat into the Radiant Charizard for the time being to try and protect the Manaphy, I guess, from a potential KO for the easy knockout on the double Charmanders that have just been placed on the Buddy Buddy Poffin. This is just an unfortunate scenario here for William. Had to utilize the Rotom V with a Forest Sealstone as well.
We mentioned earlier about how the Heat Tackle Charmander is great, but that's going to be it. Azul has taken the victory with Losso and Giratina, just completely stopping the Charizard deck from functioning, removing Charmanders from play left, right, and center. And unfortunately, a slower start here for William led to back-to-back losses, but obviously still in a wonderful position. 5 wins, 1 loss.